All right, let's talk about the rulebook that controls every single dollar, euro, or yen that flows in and out of India. It's called FEMA, and trust me, it probably affects you or someone you know in ways you haven't even thought about. So let me throw a question at you. If you're an Indian citizen working in Dubai, or maybe you're a foreign national on a project in Bangalore, what's your actual legal status when it comes to money? Are you a resident of India or not? You might think the answer is simple, but it has almost nothing to do with your passport. The key to that whole puzzle is found inside one powerful law, the Foreign Exchange Management Act, or as everyone calls it, FEMA. This is the act that lays down all the rules of the road for foreign money. So let's get into it. Now, to really get what FEMA is all about, you kind of have to look back at what came before it. There was this massive shift in how India thought about its economy, and that's what led to this law. It's a really cool story about moving from, well, super strict control to much smarter management. It all started way, way back in 1939 with some basic controls. Then in 1973, we got this really tough law called FARA. But, after 1991, when India started opening up its economy, FARA just felt old. It didn't fit anymore. So in the year 2000, out with the old and in with the new, FEMA. And this wasn't just a name change, okay? This was a complete 180 in philosophy. FARA was all about regulation and control. You can think of it like a giant fortress wall designed to keep foreign currency locked in. FEMA, on the other hand, is all about management. Its job is to facilitate trade, to make things easier. It's less like a wall and more like a modern traffic system, just keeping everything flowing smoothly. Okay, and that brings us right to the heart of the matter. Because before you can apply any rule, the law has to decide who it's even talking to, and it all boils down to this one single question. In the eyes of FEMA, are you a resident? So, the term you have to get stuck in your head is person resident in India. And let me say it again, forget your citizenship. Your passport doesn't matter here. Under FEMA, your status comes down to two things: how long you've physically been in the country, and, this is the big one, what your intentions are. And the whole thing kicks off with a magic number, a number that is the absolute foundation for figuring out your status, and that number is 182. Here's the basic rule of thumb. You are considered a person resident in India if you are physically inside the country for more than 182 days, so about half a year, during the previous financial year. See that word? Preceding. Your status right now depends on where you were last year. But just when you think it's that simple, FEMA throws a curveball. That 183-day count? It's just the starting line. The law then asks a much more personal question. What is your purpose? Why did you leave India? Or why did you come here in the first place? And that purpose creates two massive exceptions that can override the day count. First, if you leave India for a job, to start a business, or for any reason that implies you're going to be gone for an indefinite time, poof, you become a non-resident the day you fly out. The flip side is also true. If you come to India for a purpose other than those things, like, say, a long vacation, you stay a non-resident. I know, it sounds a little tricky, right? The best way to get it is to see how it works in the real world. So let's walk through an example. Okay, so let's meet Mr. Z. He's lived in India his entire life, so he easily clears the 182-day rule for the previous year. On August 1st, 2020, he packs his bags and leaves for the US to study for 3 years. So what do you think? His purpose is higher studies. It's not employment, it's not business. Based on the rules we just went over, is he still considered a resident of India? And here's the twist. If you read the law black and white, technically he should still be a resident. But the Reserve Bank of India came out with a clarification and said, nope, treat students as non-residents. And why? Well, because the reality is that most of them get part-time jobs to help pay for things. It's a perfect example of how the law gets interpreted to match what actually happens in real life. It is complicated. And here is another absolutely crucial takeaway. Under FEMA, your residential status can change on a dime. The minute you leave for that job abroad, your status flips. This is totally different from how the Income Tax Act works, where your status is set for the entire financial year. You're either one or the other for the whole year. Understanding this difference is so important. Okay, so we've spent all this time trying to figure out if you're a resident or not, but so what? Why does this label actually matter in the real world? What does it change? To put it simply, your residential status is literally the key that either unlocks or locks down your ability to do financial business with the rest of the world. It dictates everything you can and cannot do with foreign currency. FEMA basically sorts all transactions into two big buckets. The first bucket is for current account transactions. Just think of this as all your normal everyday stuff, paying for goods you import, getting cash for your vacation, sending some money to family overseas. For the most part, these are allowed, no problem.
The second bucket is for capital account transactions. Now, these are the big ones. These are the moves that actually change your assets or liabilities. We're talking buying a house abroad, investing in foreign stock markets, or getting a loan from another country. As you can imagine, these are watched much more closely.
And FEMA's reach is pretty huge. It's not just about who's a resident, it's the whole system that governs investments people make overseas. It makes sure money earned from exports comes back into the country. And it even gives power to the banks and money changers that we all use. It's the whole shebang. So, if you take one thing away from this, it should be this. FEMA is not that old fortress wall that Pharaoh was. It is the modern, flexible operating system that runs India's entire financial relationship with the rest of the globe. And its official mission statement really says it all. The whole point is to promote the orderly development and maintenance of the foreign exchange market in India. It's about building a system that's stable, reliable, and works for everyone. At the end of the day, FEMA is just a mirror, reflecting a new, globalized India. It recognizes that people and their money are always on the move, crossing borders every single day. So the only real question left to ask is, in this massive interconnected economy, where do you fit in?